Welcome to the Anxiety at Work podcast. I'm Chester Elton, and this is my dear friend and co-author, Adrian Gostick.
Well, welcome everyone. We hope the time you're going to spend with us will help remove the stigma of anxiety and mental health in the workplace and your personal life. And we invite experts from the world of work and life to give us ideas and, most importantly, tools to deal with anxiety in our world.
Our guest today is our new friend, Roberta Hughes. Roberta is the founder and lead instructor at PeaceFul Living, a studio that offers Pilates, meditation, and yoga classes. PeaceFul Living provides clients a way to filter out life's pressures through live streams and on-demand classes. Her goal is to help clients who desire to change their relationships with stress. And we've had her on our live show as well. She is delightful. She is calm. She is the perfect guest to talk about anxiety at work. Roberta, welcome to our humble podcast.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I just listened to the Living with Gratitude podcast yesterday when it came out, and it was exciting to hear it. And then here I am with you again, Chester. It's like we're old friends.
Hey, we're thrilled. I'm thrilled to meet you, Roberta, and Chester said nothing but great things. Now, I want to dive into some of the things that you talk about and how we can become a little bit more calm in our lives. But you say right now, less than 1 in 10 of us are engaged in health-related self-care each day. So I want you to explain that concept and why it's so important to take the time for health-related self-care.
Most of us think of self-care as something that brings us pleasure, something that's indulgent. And health-related self-care is a way to look at self-care as an opportunity to improve our immune system, to improve our energy levels, to develop self-awareness, and really to develop empathy and healthy communication skills.
You know, you talk about empathy. We've heard a lot about that in the world of leadership, that we need more empathy in the workplace to reduce anxiety and reduce stress. You talk about another thing about having a more positive relationship with stress. That sounds a little counterintuitive to me, yes, here comes stress. Goody, that's going to be a good thing. Talk us through that idea, a positive relationship with stress. How do you do that?
By creating a positive relationship with stress, it actually gives you more power. It teaches you how to self-regulate. It teaches you how to identify your triggers and your response to stress. So how could we apply this to our work environment? Maybe there are certain situations within that work environment that are going to trigger us, and we know that our stress levels are going to be higher that day. When we develop a healthy relationship with stress, we can learn to regulate our reactivity and our response when we know we're walking into situations that will trigger it.
So just on that line of triggers, so you say, okay, I've got this meeting with somebody that I know is going to trigger me. We've got a friction in our relationship.
Well, why are you looking at me?
Yeah. It's like every day I have to meet with this guy. Yeah. Thank you, Adrian. No, the point is you say, okay, you can regulate that. So what is a way that I'm heading into a meeting, I know it's going to be stressful and it's going to be triggered. How do I regulate that? Like, what are some of your methods to regulate that stress?
To focus on your breath. Breathing will reduce your stress response. It actually triggers your parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to bring that stress response down. So moving away from the flight or flight and moving more towards the rest and digest. Obviously, it's not going to be a complete transformation that you take one breath and all of those feelings and stressors are gone. But it's more like, okay, I'm prepared. I feel this. It's not going to overwhelm me. I can walk in with confidence and feel like I have power and can create boundaries for myself in this communication, in this meeting, in this relationship.
So it's sort of,
great.
Yeah, it's bringing ourselves to the present, but it's also this idea of cognitive reframing that we've been talking about, where we're changing the narrative here that's going on.
Yeah, you actually have a choice of how you show up. Yeah. You can acknowledge, I'm feeling stressed, my heart is racing, my hands are jittery, maybe I'm sweating a little bit, but those things don't have to show up before I walk into the room as who I am. I can still be who I am in the midst of all of these things happening in my body.
Well, when Chester and I do executive coaching, we've heard from some of the senior leaders who are women that we coach that maybe women have had a harder time during the pandemic. And this gets just to what you've been talking about here. Do you feel like maybe women have had a lot harder time over the last couple of years? And if so, what advice do you have for women who are listening today?
For women during the pandemic, most of us were working from home, and those who were still in corporate roles working from home now also had children that were at home for school. I think the natural role of mothers is to be the caretakers of everyone else, and trying to be at home taking care of everyone else's needs and still showing up as an employee, as your role in your job. You're always operating at a high level of stress, and learning how to self-regulate again and bring those stress responses down. It's almost like people who have PTSD. You kind of change your patterning of stress. Normally, stress happens. We're kind of on the smooth path. A stress will happen. It will spike our response. It will spike all of the things that happen in our body. Our nervous system will shift, but then we're able to come back down and then find that smooth path again. When we're constantly in those peaks of being stressed, it's more difficult over time to self-regulate and to find that place of balance again. So it really has to be programmed back into your body, back into your brain. It has to be practiced and strengthened just like a muscle.
That really is the key, isn't it? That practicing and the discipline to do it again and again. And that, do you find that's what is missing from a lot of practices is literally the practice, the repetition?
The practice, the discipline, and the consistency.
You talk about decluttering your brain. I really need your help on this one, Roberta, because I don't think I'm unique in that, we get into our days and like you say, you've got family, you've got house repairs, you've got cars, you've got all these things going on in your mind. How do you declutter your brain so that you can find that peace? What are those methods?
You can really organize and prioritize where you choose to place your focus. And if you look at it from that perspective, I'm choosing to focus on this thing, even among all of the other things that need my attention. Looking at the big picture, I do this once a week. Every Sunday I sit down and look at the big picture. What does this week require from me? And where does my attention need to be? And then each day I do 3 things to achieve what needs my attention. If I try to go day by day and just hope that things go well and that I get everything done from my to-do list, that creates more stress and clutter and disorganization. So the steps would be to create the big picture and then to create flow by breaking it down into smaller steps and choosing where you place your focus.
Yeah. And we heard that, when we were writing Anxiety at Work, we heard that from so many, especially younger people who say, I would just love my boss to sit down with me on a Monday morning and talk about my week. What I have coming up, what could fall off the sled if it has to, what has to be done. Just simple things like that again are part of decluttering that as leaders we can help with. Love that. Roberta, how can people learn more about your work? Where would you send them?
I have a website, PeaceFulLiving.com. PeaceFul has 2 L's. And most of my content is on my website. I'm starting to build up my LinkedIn profile a bit more because I really do have a thirst and desire and an interest in bringing everything that I've been doing my whole life into the corporate setting and helping people bring more humanness into those leadership roles and to discover how to be more empathetic, sympathetic, vulnerable, and still be amazing leaders.
Well, yeah, the corporate world needs what you bring. One of the things we talk a lot about is community, and you do as well. Having people who have your back. I think that's maybe the essence of community. Yet, COVID changed all that, as you know, for everyone. So how can we find and cultivate a like-minded tribe, and why is that so important?
I don't know that COVID changed our ability to be in community with each other. I think it shifted what community looks like temporarily for most of us. And now we're trying to go back into our roles, feeling a little more isolated and alone. So we were all in these little pods of people for so long. Now we're trying to be back in the world, and finding people seems a little intimidating and overwhelming. I would say to approach going back into your roles of life outside of your home with confidence and compassion, giving yourself the opportunity to create relationships newly. So, not expecting or anticipating that your work relationships will look exactly as they did prior to you spending however many months or years on Zoom, which might have made you feel a little more isolated from your group and from your people. I do believe that we can create community through these social platforms. You know, I feel very connected to the two of you right now through the screen, through our voices. I'm only getting a small version of you, but social media gets a really bad rap that it's not a place where you can find community. I find it to be the opposite. If I go into my Instagram account and I'm looking for people like me and I start interacting with them, more people like me show up in my feed. If I'm scrolling through and going down the rabbit hole of drudgery, for example, and I'm interacting with that content, I'm going to get more of that content. My Instagram feed is very positive. It's very encouraging. It's exciting. And I choose to go and look at different accounts and follow people for inspiration. I communicate and interact with people. So community comes from your intention, your purpose, and your desire to be in community with others.
Chester's Instagram is mostly pictures of carrots from different places. Yeah.
Different colors of carrots. A lot of people don't know they come
true.
in more colors than
It's
orange.
true.
You know, Roberta, I really appreciate your positive outlook on stuff. Like you say, you know, social media can get a really bad rap, and yet Adrian and I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and we've developed some wonderful relationships with really positive people. The idea of choosing your community, I think, is so important. You know, I wanted to step back a second and talk about your Sunday night ritual, where you look at the week and you plan it out. You know, it's so interesting. When I take the night before and map out tomorrow, I can sleep better. I don't have to worry about, oh, did I miss something? Or is there something on there that's going to, in your words, you know, trigger me? Those personal rituals, I think, really are helpful. Again, it's the discipline to make sure that you do it. I really like the way you said, grab the whole week and then break it down by day. What are some other personal rituals that you have that you could share with us like that can help us find that inner peace?
First, I want to point out you do this on Sunday night. I do this on Sunday afternoon. For me, if I do it in the evening before I go to bed, it actually creates more clutter in my brain because now I'm thinking about work. I'm not thinking about rest. So one of the rituals that I do consistently is a bedtime routine. And about 2 hours before bed, I'm doing things to bring my brain to a level of calm and quiet. I dim the lights, I put on a diffuser and have some lavender and bergamot and frankincense going. All of these little all of these little cues that tell my brain it's time for sleep. I start to turn on my humidifier, have some white noise. I attempt, and I'm not always successful, to keep digital out of my room and out of my bed. But sometimes I like to put on a Netflix show and just watch something. But then at least 15 minutes before I go to bed, I'm completely away from the electronics. And then I wear a sleep mask and make sure that it's completely dark because the darkness tells your body to produce melatonin, which allows you to get healthier rest and longer periods of sleep without waking up in the middle of the night.
You know, one quick question. People are all over the map on that, at least I think so, as to how many hours of sleep you really need to be rested. What's your number?
Mine is 8. I get 8 hours of sleep every night. And if I get 7, I'm not feeling like myself.
8 hours, Adrian. 8 hours of sleep.
Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, that's great. Hey, Roberta, you took Chester when you were on his live show through a little bit of breathing exercise. We've got a couple of minutes here. You have a minute or two with us. What would you do to help us calm before our next meeting?
I'm
so
so
glad
happy
you asked
that
that
you
question.
asked me to do this.
Yeah, me too, because this is really cool. I'm really excited for you to walk Adrian through this.
Awesome.
Go for
Okay,
it.
here we go.
Okay, so instead of breathing, we're going to do a guided meditation, and it's called a body scan. So you can close your eyes or lower your gaze. And now bring awareness to your mouth. Feel sensation inside of your mouth. Notice your lips, your tongue, inside the cheeks, the teeth, and feel the taste buds alive in your mouth. Notice the jaw bones and see if you can create a little more space between the jaw bones. And let the tongue just float in the mouth, not pushing up, not pushing down. And soften your whole mouth. And now begin to notice your breath flowing in through the throat, flowing out through the throat. And feel sensation in your whole body. And then just notice how you feel. Notice your awareness of breath, thought, sensation. And when you're ready, allow your eyes to open and tell me how you feel.
Yeah, it's great. It just brings you right to the present.
I really didn't want to open my eyes.
No, me neither. Me neither.
And Chester, last time you didn't close your eyes, and this time you did.
Yes, listen, I got to tell everybody that's listening, go look up Roberta Whitney Jones, or Hughes. No, Jones, don't look up her.
No.
Roberta Whitney Hughes. She's got all these great little practices
Yeah.
on her website. One of the ones that you walked us through was watch the movie, which was so cool. So all these, and they don't take very long. What I really appreciate is, everybody says, like, I'm busy. Yeah. You can always find a minute. You can always find 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I would love to just hear quickly what effect did that have on you, Adrian?
Like I said, it really brought me to the present, took me away from all the stresses. Because, the day starts, it's, 9 a.m. here in Park City, Utah. And so I'm worrying about, making flight arrangements and client needs. I got to put together a proposal and this, that, and the other. And it just, everything stopped. Those things started pulling at me. But you kept bringing me back to myself, and that was really helpful. Yeah, in a minute, all of a sudden, I felt a lot more centered, calm. Yeah.
Wonderful. And how about you, Chester?
Yeah, what I noticed about halfway through is my shoulders relaxed. And it just I just let go of that tension. It was one of my favorite words is when something good happens, I say, you know what? That was just lovely.
Oh,
And it was just lovely.
I like that word.
Well, this has been just such a great discussion today, Roberta. Now, what would you want our listeners to take away to cultivate more peace in their lives? A couple of takeaways from our discussion today. What would you say?
Yeah, there are so many things you can do. I would say to invest in practices that allow you to create that healthier relationship with stress. And there are so many things to choose from. Take your pick, try one thing, see how it works for you. If it's not working, find something else to try. Training up your emotional intelligence is going to really give you the opportunity to show up in all of your roles of life with confidence and from a place of peace and empathy. So what practices can you take to train those up? For me, it's yoga, Pilates, and meditation. That's what I specialize in. And then finally, to normalize conversations about mental health and emotions. The more you can share how you're feeling, again, in an intelligent way. It's not like we're emoting and having emotional meltdowns. That's not really healthy for anybody, including yourself. But to share your emotions in a healthy way, to normalize conversations. Today I'm feeling sad and I might not be as focused at work. Just naming it. Or today I'm anxious because this event happened in my life. I'm going to do my best to show up as well as I can. But if you notice something, it might be because of this. Have honesty and openness in those conversations.
Boy, Adrian, you really needed to hear that last part.
I did.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
I love the calm and I love the simple wisdom that you're sharing with us, Roberta. You really do bring that calm. And the message, while simple and direct, it really is about that repetition and discipline. Again, I'd really encourage people to go to your website, and if nothing else, just the recordings of Roberta's voice will calm you down and make your day a little better. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. And I just want to conclude with repetition actually calms the brain, because when the brain is familiar with a pattern, it automatically goes down to a place of performing at a more peaceful level. So keep it simple, keep practicing, and you've got this.
Thanks, Roberta.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. It was wonderful to be here.
Well, just some great insights from Roberta Hughes. Very calming, very positive. And I love that she was telling us to, look, you got to have a more positive relationship with stress. Well, how did that strike you?
It really counterintuitive. My goal in life is to avoid as much stress as possible. I don't want to have any kind of a relationship with stress. Is like saying, build a relationship with, the gang in your neighborhood. No, I don't want to do that. I'll tell you, this is my second time talking with Roberta, and it just gets better and better. Doesn't she have that just wonderful way about her? Her voice I just felt like my cares just kind of melt away the more she talked to me.
Which is really interesting, because oftentimes, actually, when we're asked to, do executive coaching with somebody maybe who's at the manager or director level, they want to build what? Their executive presence.
Right.
And voice is very important, isn't it? How we present ourselves, how we're calm, especially in crisis, how we ask questions. How we present ourselves comes a lot, obviously, from our body language and our voice.
I lived in Italy for a while, and there was an expression that the bigger the title, the softer the voice, which I always thought was really interesting. When you get more and more influence, you don't have to scream and yell. Well, one of the things that she pointed out that I thought was really great was be aware of your triggers and take care of it in advance. If you're going into a meeting or you're going to go into a situation and it's going to be, take that minute to step back and choose how you show up. I thought, that phrase right there for me is choose how you are going to show up. Be prepared going in. You're less likely to get triggered. You're less likely to lose control of your emotions.
I love that. And we've been talking about this, is that can you reframe what's happening instead of, oh my gosh, I have to come in and face Bruce, and Bruce is always, can you reframe it to, I'm coming in, I'm going to learn, I'm going to be pushed, I'm going to have a chance to grow here. And as you just mentioned, bring yourself to the present with breathing. And just as she did with 1 minute with this meditation, bring yourself present and don't be worrying about what could happen. Just face things as they come.
Yeah. I really appreciated when she said, don't look at your week Sunday night, which is what I do. Do it Sunday afternoon and then put it aside. Prepare yourself for the big picture and then break it down day by day. So many people, and you and I are included in that, we have those weeks where Sunday night we just go, ugh. And it just, that knot starts to build inside your stomach, whether it's you've got travel or there's maybe some people you've got to interact with you're not crazy about, whatever it might be, lack of sleep. Do it in the afternoon. Give your mind and your body a chance to then decompress and head for a good 8 hours sleep. When was the last time you got 8 hours sleep, Adrian?
Well, I try, but usually it's 6.5 to 7. But I certainly try. But Yeah, because I want to focus in too for a minute on that decluttering your brain and just what her idea is. Doing that on Sunday, you do it out the night before. However you find that it works for you, I think that really is good to just plan out. Okay, what am I working on tomorrow? What am I working on this week? Where's my attention needed? What could fall off the sled if it has to? What does need to be done? Just getting ourselves a little bit more organized and decluttering our brains. I thought that was great. And then she started talking a little bit about community and how now, as we start going out again, we need to go out with confidence, but also compassion. I thought that was interesting.
Well, and then she gave a great shout out to social media. She goes, it gets such a bad rap. She finds a lot of positive people. Choose your community. If you go down the rabbit hole and all that negativity, that's what's going to attract on your feed. Find those positive communities. And of course, we've got our community, we thrivetogether.global, which is a very positive community. So I just, she reframes everything in such a positive and calm way. For me, it was very inspiring.
Well, we want to thank Roberta for being on the show. We want to give a big thanks to our producer, Brent Klein, and to Christy Lawrence, who helps us find amazing guests like Roberta, and to all of you who listened in and subscribed. Every time you subscribe to our podcast, an angel gets its wings.
And you'll hear a little bell, yeah.
Absolutely.
If you do like the podcast, please share it with your friends and family. We think there's a lot of good things, tools to help people deal with their mental health and anxiety in particular. We'd love for you to join our online community, we thrivetogether.global, where we're creating this safe place where people can talk about mental health and anxiety. And if I'm not mistaken, Adrian, there's a book that you like to talk about.
Oh my gosh, it is such a good book. It's called Anxiety at Work. We've now, it's been translated to multiple languages around the world, and it's, we think, from what we hear, doing a lot of good for a lot of people out there. So, and we love to speak on that book, Anxiety at Work, virtually or in person, on the topics of wellness, resilience, anxiety at work. Give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about your event.
Yeah, and follow us on LinkedIn. We're constantly publishing great stuff. We've got the Gratitude Journal. We've got all kinds of articles. And Adrian writes an article for Forbes magazine that is really, 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 let me put the emphasis on really good. You should subscribe to that as well. Well, Adrian, always a pleasure to spend time with you. I so appreciate our friendship, and I really appreciate Roberta bringing that calm and that goodness into our podcast. She was amazing.
Well, thanks, Jess, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Until next time, we wish you the best of mental health.
Take care.